Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for sticking around. We've now done our little game development magic in the background, moved everybody from Dark Zone South to Dark Zone West. We're going to jump into that real quick. I just want to point out as well that after we were done here, after we talked to you guys and we called up Red Storm, then we're going to do some live gameplay for another hour. So stick around. Me and Hamish are going to be playing some Dark Zone and PvP.
Fantastic. So where about?
Huh?
Which Dark Zone?
I do not know yet.
Okay.
One of the Dark Zones to be decided. Speaking of, we talked about going rogue now, and as you said in the first game, kind of going rogue entails everything. It entails cutting the rope, for example, and it entails killing other players. And of course, as implied by our discussions, that's still something you can do in the Dark Zone,
of course,
or the Dark Zones, obviously. So how does that work in the Division 2? Like you go rogue, you steal stuff, and then you go disavowed.
Yeah, so I think I just want to make it really clear that these are not, don't think about this as different, disconnected experiences. No. It's really about one long gradient where you chose where to come in and how far to go. So we already covered the greed stealing part of going rogue, but disavowed is what we call the act of actually killing another player now. So that's when you get flagged in a different way. It's clear to everyone, like this player's now taken a life.
Yep.
And
I'm really hoping on the gameplay here that they will find another team and hunt them down.
They should.
Or get wrecked. Yeah. I don't mind either way. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, but and then of course that is, if you want to, the beginning of a journey all the way up to triggering Manhunt.
Right.
Where Golden Skull, that's not going to time out, right? So this very similar to the first game. Clearing Manhunt status is a matter of going to these terminals, right? But what we added now in Division 2 is the ability to, once you get to one, because you're going to have 3 active, choose to elevate your status even further, reducing your way out, so to say, to now 2. And then you can do that again and have 1 left, which is really about giving players more tools who like that experience to kind of tailor it to how much risk reward do I want? How much do I think we can handle? Or alone too, if you're so inclined.
And what we're seeing here, I mean, we're just by a canal. One of the canals of the Dark Zone, and you'll notice that Georgetown, Dark Zone West, is the location where, and I'm not giving away too much, but this is where the DC-62, the yellow powder, was sprayed to try and contain the virus, to try and neutralize the effects of the virus. Didn't work out. Within the context of what was happening at the time, it turned out that this was ultra toxic. So you're going in. This is a dangerous place. There's lots and lots of stuff. It's absolutely gorgeous. There are so many things to discover here. And as you can see, it looks so different from the rest of the map.
This is such a serene scene as well until you start looking at the details. That's when it can agree.
Yeah. The bodies in the water, that type of thing. But we're not here to do sightseeing either. I mean, if you can go Manhunt, that'd be great, because it is a loop that is super risk reward focused, and we do know that a lot of players love that loop. So this allows them to keep chaining those timers and to get as much from it as possible.
Sorry?
No,
I thought you were going to say something.
Just so polite.
Excuse me.
Connected though to the Dark Zone experience and the Dark Zone progression are new. Speaking of risk reward, and gaining something that you might actually lose later on, the Dark Zone perks.
Yep. Now the Dark Zone perks, something that I think is awesome, and you're going to get perks based on your levels, which is what we're calling ranks for the Division 2, and we have 50 levels. Straight away, you're going to get some great perks. I think it's level 1, you get to carry 1 extra item for extraction. But then it goes to things that are so cool, like lowering the extraction timer. So these things, you're not going to want to lose these perks. So you're going to want to defend your dark zone level as much as possible. So again, it's little things like this that increase the depth of what we're proposing to all types of players in the dark zone. And that extends to one of the things that I know that Terry is so passionate about, which are the occupied dark zones.
Right.
Matthias, do you want to take us through what occupied dark zones are?
I think we're gonna wrap everything up because we're kind of running out of time because we're really good at talking.
All right.
But we're gonna tease because there is something for you were talking about the people who really enjoys the manhunt loops. There usually are very hardcore players.
Yeah.
We do have something special planned for them as well.
Yeah, and it's really, the dev team, we're very excited about the original, very raw, vanilla dark zone that we launched with.
Friendly fire.
And we know that there's a sizable part of the Division community that love that experience. So this is yet another thing that we can do given the fact that we have more than one. We have 3 dark zones. So any given time in endgame, one of them will be what we call occupied. And what that means is really that there's always going to be a place for players to go and have that original experience, meaning no normalization, friendly fire is always on, and risk reward is really turned to 11. So it's the place, if you like that experience of complete ambiguity, but also it's not just my player skill alone, it's really also my build versus yours. That's the place to go. And the cool thing with 3 is that this will rotate on a certain schedule. So it's not like, oh, if I want to play occupied, I'm stuck with playing only South, for example. Like it will change so that you really get to experience all 3, no matter what is your primary preference.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And for me personally, staying the hell out of that.
Yeah,
that's just me. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you.
It's been fantastic. We could obviously talk about the Dark Zone for a long time, but we need to cut it. I think our producers back there are going crazy from our talking. Yeah. So we're going to leave it there. But again, thank you very much. I hope to see you guys back on State of the Game. That is coming back. State of the Game is coming back. Don't worry about it. And I'll drag these guys in.
Cool.
Don't worry.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
So we're not actually going to take a break. So during the alpha, we had an alpha forum for the players who were playing that under NDA and everything, as you probably know. But we took the opportunity to start a thread there where people could ask questions about things like server infrastructure and anti-cheat. So we put together a short video with a couple of those questions. So take a look at that, and then after that, we will be back with Redstorm to talk about PvP. So we will see you then.
Hi, my name is Jan Harrison. I'm a senior online infrastructure engineer with the Division, and I do backend and infrastructure.
Hi, my name is Duran Fatih Güngör, and I work as a senior gameplay programmer on the Division 2.
Okay, well, we didn't intend to, but we definitely won't.
So easy anti-cheat is basically our first line of defense, I would say, and it prevents the player from tampering with memory or the executable or the data itself. We moved on, and now it's more of an online cheat detection tool so that we can act on it instantly.
So I wouldn't say we rely on the cloud. We use the cloud to bolster what we already have. So we work with a hardware provider who gives us physical machines, very powerful physical machines. And then on top of that, we add the scalability of the cloud. So we try and get best of both worlds. So you get the really good performance of the bare metal, but you also get the expandability of the cloud.
Yes, it's always been proactive. We had the banhammers every week, and we have the offline data and the analyzers that give the reports, who used what cheat tools. And without mercy, and coupled with our new cheat measures, it should be a much more fair ground.
So because of our scalable infrastructure, hopefully that would not happen. We have enough capacity in each region to be able to accommodate like almost the entire player base of Division 2 that we expect. But if you have a friend who is in US West and you're in Asia, then obviously one of you is going to have to make a compromise, and we will decide that for you.
We're gonna be transparent with the tick rates when the game releases, and right now we are testing on target hardware for the servers, so we are figuring things out. There can be like slight changes. We have done a lot of optimizations on the server side as well to support all the player simulation and everything around it. So we're gonna communicate that.
So there's going to be dedicated server infrastructure. Everyone will connect to a server, and the server will handle a lot of things, especially artificial intelligence and positioning in the game. It's the server that's authoritative.
We have addressed a lot of the player replication issues from the first game, the infamous chicken dance and the running in place bug. And this is all thanks to all the improvements and fixes that we did in the locomotion system and new animations and new animation systems.
Yes, we're planning on having coverage in South America, North America, Europe, Asia, Oceania, around 13 data center locations in total.
You can instead donate to charity, because if you use cheat tools, you're gonna be banned for sure.
Welcome back to the special report for Dark Zones and PvP. I'm supposed to have the guys from Red Storm in my ear. Are they? Hello?
Hello.
Whoa.
Hello. Hello.
Whoa. That was louder than I expected. How are you doing? Are we going to get you on
How are
screen?
you?
Are we going to get... Oh, there we go. Hi, Terry.
Hi.
Hi, Keith. How are you?
Nice to see you, buddy.
So for... we always do this, but for the people who've never met you guys before, can you please introduce yourselves? Is there a lag on this?
Hang on.
Oh.
I'm pausing.
Live TV, everybody.
We got it.
We got it. All right. So, can you introduce yourself, guys?
Sure. Should I go again? Do it. All right. My name's Terry Spear. I'm the creative director here at Red Storm. And I'm Keith Evans. I'm the lead game designer here at Red Storm.
So we were talking briefly before with Julian and Matthias about your involvement in the Dark Zone and PvP, which is extensive. So can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing on the game itself?
Sure. As the creative director, I helped assign the vision. You know, I work with Julian and Matthias and the other directors to make sure it all goes into a place that we're comfortable with. Yeah, and I work with our game design team here and the level designers, and just kind of getting all the details of what's going to go into the new game, and then working hand in hand with Massive.
I really love how I have you guys on the screen here. Can we just
I know.
Can we just take a second to just appreciate the fact that we have you on the wall?
I wish we were there with
you. Have
you.
No
Yeah.
idea. You have no idea how much time Ella and Hamish put into making that work. So anyway, I just want to give them some credit here on the stream.
It's like we can almost hug you.
They can almost.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah, that'd be really nice. Terry hugs are nice. Anyway, let's move on. So you guys have been very, very involved, of course, with the PvP in the Division 1 as well. But when you sat down for the first time and kind of, okay, what's our philosophy? What's our goals moving for PvP in the Division 2? What was your first thoughts?
Good question. The first thought was fairness. I'd say that probably the second thought that came out right after that was inclusion. We want more people to play PvP in the Division 2. Yeah, I think we made a lot of strides, throughout post-launch in the first game, taking a lot of those learnings and really pushing fairness and a place for everyone to PvP.
So we're actually going to jump in. We're going to have we have live gameplay running in the background here. Actually, we're going to see if we can jump in and just put that on screen while people are shooting each other in the face.
About to expire.
They have a problem. They'll fix it. We'll just keep talking. So fairness, that's another topic that we discussed with Julian and Matthias before. And one big thing there, one of the pillars is normalization. So we had it, or we have it in the first game, in Last Stand, and in the skirmish PvP modes. But what is exactly normalization, and how do you approach it in the Division 2?
Yeah, that's a big topic.
Yeah.
Normalization was it was very important for us with fairness and inclusion as two of the big pillars for PvP, and it was something we knew we needed to include because although we are an RPG, we also want players to be able to participate in gun battles, that they feel are fair. And when you have a game with such stat diversity like we do, it was sort of a
it's a
no-brainer.
It's a super important layer, but I think what you pointed out, right? We had the concept of normalization in the first game, but that's the key thing. Is normalization is just an idea, and you can apply it in all sorts of different ways. So we've completely redone our normalization system from the first game to work with all the improvements to the RPG that are in the Division 2.
Yep. Let's not go deeper into that at the moment, but we can say that it applies to everything. It applies not only to the organized PvP modes, but also outside of the occupied dark zones, applied to the dark zone as well.
And that was super cool for us to be able to have the occupied dark zones, a place where we can say, in contrast to the normal dark zones and organized PvP, okay, here you go. You have your full statistical advantage that you've spent a lot of time working on. Go have fun together. Go play with each other. Shoot each other.
Yeah, and then that core idea of normalization this time is we're not just pushing everyone to the exact same power level. We're taking your build and making it still really matter, but we're kind of getting rid of those really high peaks of damage output and those really high sustainability builds and pulling everyone a little bit more in focus.
I think it's important to note too that there are a lot of details to this normalization plan that we haven't discussed yet, but just imagine that if we're setting a bar for normalization, if you're under that bar, we help you move up to the bar. And if you're over that bar, players that are over that normalization standards position, you're going to receive some statistical bonuses for being over. And they're not huge advantages, but they are in fact advantages.
And they make your time and your build and your choices still matter, right? Still be felt.
Yeah, and I think one thing I think you should talk about, Keith, is the fact that this normalization allows us to keep PvP and PvE separate.
Yeah, I think that's one of the core things. Is normalization isn't just changing the stats blanketly on your gear. It's going in and doing talent overrides just for normalized play, or skill adjustments just for normalized play, with the idea of keeping PvP in balance but never affecting the PvE game. We want to give you all that power in PvE.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, so I'm sorry, we're having this live gameplay thing I talked about before. One of the computers crashed. They're bringing it back. They're bringing it back. LS, kind of calm down. Everything is okay.
Thanks, Obama.
You guys are still there, so I'm happy with that. So one thing that I'm kind of bringing in like topics that we talked about before, which we thought we should talk to Redstorm about these things, and one of them is the VoIP questions people have been having, because we announced that last week. We were discussing the changes being made to VoIP, and can you just explain a little bit what we're doing with that?
Sure.
The thing is that I realized I have this on the table just now.
Tape?
So it's tape, yeah. So I got all confused. You go on.
So for VoIP, actually, we're very engaged in the conversation right now. We know there's an active discussion in the community. We're paying attention to all those conversations. It's wonderful, in fact, to be able to have the conversations now. We'd like people to play it in the beta and what we have in place, and really get their hands on it and feel it. And then once that happens, we're very open to making changes and adjustments so the community is happy. The point is, okay, how can we help curb some of that toxicity that we had in the original game?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like what you said before. It's about the inclusiveness of the experience and getting more people to come in, giving you all the tools of the last game, and stripping out some of the toxicity.
Yeah, we're very aware that there's a lot of great relationships that happen in the Dark Zone, especially that ad hoc stuff. You didn't expect to meet a person, and then you had some great teamwork. We don't want to take that away at all. That's part of the very unique nature of the Dark Zone that all of us identify as very important. Yeah. But we also want to try and steer our players away from the feeling that it's a bully community, and how can we help people feel comfortable, more comfortable, without taking away some of the magic. So it's an iterative process. Like always, we're going to pay attention to how the community feels and how we feel and move from there.
Right. So I see the gameplay computer from here. It's up and running. Frederick is back in the match, I believe. I just want to point out that I got a weird echo there. The PvP, organized PvP modes in the Division 2 are 4 versus 4. I don't think we have everyone in the match. So if you don't see all the names there, that's because technical reasons. So, but it's 4v4.
Glad TV, baby.
That's right.
Let's talk though about the two different modes that the game is launching with. It's skirmish, we know, slightly from the first game, and of course domination. But let's talk about skirmish first. It's a classic making its return, but there's been tweaks to the formula.
Yeah, absolutely. There have been. I think maybe skirmish by name is about the only thing we took. The design team and Keith worked hard to sort of reimagine what skirmish was.
Yeah, and there were a couple goals that we had in mind, right? And the main one is we wanted to make it a more team-based tactical experience, but still, obviously, at its core, team deathmatch. So this time, instead of just trying to rack up kills as fast as possible, you have a set number of respawns, and you're trying to deplete the other team's respawns. And just that little mental shift makes you hang back, fight more as a team, makes you care more about each death. And it allowed us to do something that I think is really exciting, which is once the respawns are depleted, it kicks you into a team elimination phase. And it has this feeling of you're never completely out of the fight, right? You might be all the way down into the elimination phase. It's just you and one buddy. And, you know, if you can stage a comeback from that point and deplete all the other team's respawns, get those final eliminations and still win. It just feels a lot more like we have exciting comebacks and really tactical team-based play.
Yeah, you're not just moving towards a frag count.
Yeah.
And we put a lot of work into the spectator cam. The team crushed it, and there's a real fun element to getting into that sort of elimination mode where you get to watch your teammates and see them really shine.
And see them rally.
Yeah.
Yep.
One thing we had in Last Stand, for example, in the first games are the boosts that are available to you scattered throughout the map. Can you tell us a little bit about those and how they work?
Yeah, go for it, Keith.
Yeah, so the idea is across the whole conflict, which is kind of the platform for these PvP game modes, we want to have some connecting ideas, and one of those are the boosts. So in all these modes, you'll have these passive perks that can come online that you can go claim as an objective for your team, and you don't know exactly what you're going to get out of it, but it's going to give you some little advantage. In domination, it might increase your score count. In team deathmatch, it might give you extra armor for a little bit across your whole team. And it's just these little ways to augment the fight and make it, honestly, just kind of ups the excitement level. You can be, maybe behind by a little bit, get one of these boosts and pull yourself back into the fight.
They're tertiary objectives. It's meant to just supplement the main gameplay loops that are happening, but they're on the sides. You know, you might have an active boost. You can pick it up and help your team.
So we're actually jumping over right now to the second organized PvP mode that will be available at launch of the Division 2, Domination. So can you tell us a little bit about that as we get the match up and running?
You bet. Dom. I mean, I personally love Domination.
Is that what we call it, Dom?
Well, I mean, come on.
I'm just making sure I'm down with the lingo.
Yeah, you're down with the lingo. The goal with Conflict as a PvP destination was to give players modes that they're very comfortable with, modes that don't take a lot of overhead understanding. Yeah. And Dom, as a game mode where you have to capture objectives, creates that just little nugget of tactics. You get to play some defense, and it was something we all wanted to include.
Yeah, and I think it was also a mode that we could do a cool Division take on, right? So our capture points aren't just there in the match. You actually, see them airdrop into the space at the very beginning. You have this little period where the objectives aren't active. Maybe you fight over B for just 15, 20 seconds and try to clear out the other team.
Sorry, I saw Terry was
Terry is
there's too much
so
liquid in that mug, Terry. It's dangerous for you, obviously.
Went the wrong spot. I was trying to get him to mute my mic so I didn't cough in everyone's ear.
All right, then I'll try to ask Keith instead. So one thing we really didn't touch on before is one big endgame feature in the Division 2, of course, being the specializations and how they come into play in PvP. So, for example, how you get specialization ammo, etc. For
So the specializations are obviously it's a huge new part of the whole PvP or RPG progression that comes in at endgame. And we know they're super powerful. They're meant to be really powerful. And we didn't want to take those away from you in PvP. We want to give you moments to use them. But we've changed the way that you get that special ammo and made it kind of a real tactical component that's integrated straight into the conflict game mode.
We didn't want people just to come in with their specs and just crush. We didn't want PvP to be just about, okay, what's the best specialization weapon? I'm just going to use that the whole time.
Yeah. So you'll start the match. You'll have your specialization weapon on your back once you're at level 30. You can even see what specializations are equipped on the opposing team and on your team up at the top of the screen. So you can kind of plan what might happen in the battle. But you're only going to get that specialization ammo a few key times in the match. And it will actually airdrop in like a supply drop from the Dark Zone. And both teams can fight over control of that. The winning team gets a little bit of specialization ammo for their whole squad. But the really interesting part is if you can get in there and wipe out the other team, they drop any specialization ammo they had, and your team can try to take it back, kind of swing the fight.
One thing you also had the opportunity to do when you sat down and started working on the PvP for the second game was, if we look at the first game, if we look at Skirmish, those maps are actually taken from parts of the world. But here you had a chance to start from scratch. You were able to build custom map from the ground up.
Yeah, the PvP experience as a starting pillar, included from the get-go. How do you make the best PvP experience? Well, it starts with the maps. And we knew that this was the perfect time for us to get the LDs and the LAs and the level designers and the level artists in there and make real PvP maps for the first time in the division.
Yeah, there's no nothing here where you're kind of serving two very different types of gameplay, right? So every decision that's made from the level design standpoint is all about what's going to create fair tactical PvP. And it allows us to explore some spaces that aren't inside the rest of the DC space.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're beautiful. We can see my favorite in the background, and just because I said that out loud, I forgot the name of it, but it's beautiful.
Capital Ruins.
Capital
Ruins,
awesome.
Yeah, that's inspired by a real location in DC, where you can go and there's pieces of the old White House that were sort of discarded in a park. I don't remember the name of the park offhand, but it's all there and it's surrounded by vegetation, and it was a perfect place for a map.
Yeah, something so distinct, from the rest of the Dark Zone, other places you're going to be PvPing.
Yeah,
absolutely beautiful. So
thanks, bud.
One thing also coming from the first game is one concept that's been a big part of the discussions around the first game is time to kill.
Mm-hmm.
And how does that differ in because fights in the first game can get quite long. So how does that work in the second game? How did you approach that?
Well, as a high level experience, Keith can go into some of the details, but we wanted players to be able to, I'm going to just say a term we used here, wanted players to be able to outmap each other.
Yeah.
So flanking and, map tactics and team tactics, we wanted it to matter. So often, it was common in the Dark Zone and in some of the later skirmish maps to, successfully flank a person, and then because of the mechanics we used, maybe the kill didn't happen as you had anticipated. And now with kill times, how they're currently being set, you can absolutely get the jump on someone and get the kill.
Yeah, there's just because of the core changes to the feel of combat across the entire Division 2 experience, there were just so many little changes that improved PvP overall. So I think gunplay feels really awesome. It has a real impact to it, and the time to kill damage is just higher in general. A lot of the just healing in general is so reworked from the first game. So there's no instant pop heals. There's no, I was almost dead, but then I popped an instant heal and I'm right back in the fight, right? Healing is always over time, and you really have to get safe and get in cover to successfully pull off those kind of clutch heal moments. And it lets the fights actually resolve, and it feels really good.
Yeah, there's no doubt that PvP, while of course you can run up and try to face tank.
Sure.
And this is an RPG, and there are skills.
And there are shotguns. You're going to want to get in there.
Yeah. But you better use cover. And it's pretty deadly, and it's very exciting to play. You want to talk about a rush. Every time we play test, there's always some extraordinary moments where somebody pulls off an amazing, like especially in Georgetown. Anyway, I'm sorry, going off on a tangent. It feels really good to have kill times that we do and have it be able to mix and mash with, what we consider division, skills and stuff like that. It feels really good.
Yeah, I don't think we would have been able to pull off really this very focused domination experience as well as we have with the first game's mechanics. I think getting in there and actually being in cover and really being scared about people encroaching your space, it just makes it feel so much better.
You know what I want to talk about real quick? Sorry, tangent. I want to talk about the domination points and the passive and active stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, go. You should talk. You're smarter than me. Go.
That's not true. Yeah, so the idea, domination. I think everyone kind of understands how it works, and we have a lot of those tried and true mechanics, right? You get inside the zone. The more people you have inside the zone, you're going to capture faster. You can overtake the other team. But there's another component to capturing objectives in this game, which I think is really interesting, and it's this active capture. So you can, rush into the middle and actually interact on the crate, and you can steal it much faster and kind of overtake it from another team, even if they were inside of it. So you can try to sneak in, or maybe you've cleared out the other team and you want to capture it really quick before they get back into the fight. And it adds this other layer of decision making that I think really kind of elevates this version of domination.
Yeah, it feels really good to be able to have choice with the domination point and how you want to approach it as a team. You want to sit back, take cover, go passive. You want to cover a man who's going to run in and try to actively capture it. Of course, you're exposed when you're actively capturing.
And you get these hero moments, right? Like a lot of the time, it's 2 teams of 4 clashing on B, and your whole team gets wiped out. You get the final kill, and you have 5 seconds before the other team is going to start edging back in on you.
Yeah.
And you're talking over comms, and you get that capture, and it feels awesome.
Yeah, that's another thing. You're talking about respawns. Something we've changed from the first game is
you're just taking points from my lists here now, Terry.
Sorry, buddy.
No. Let's pretend I asked that question. Let's talk about respawns.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, go. Wave spawning, go.
Well, just wave spawning in general, we've done a lot of things to the spawn system to try to improve it from the first game. You'll notice the wave spawn makes it, you'll die, and you might have 10, 15 seconds to wait until that next spawn wave comes in, but it lets your group kind of group back up, all come back in together, do a really focused push back into the match. And then we've also done a lot of stuff to, alleviate spawn camping and try to just make it a better overall PvP experience. So all the maps have spawn flipping integrated. So if a team pushes too far into your spawn area, or there's too many kills inside the spawn area, that'll flip. And it kind of just keeps the matches more balanced, gets rid of these really runaway 10-2 sort of matches.
Yep.
And speaking of keeping those fights that way, it's no secret that I'm absolutely rubbish at PvP. So when matchmaking into PvP, what can I expect? Like, how will the matchmaking work?
Well, it's a skill-based matchmaking system. I know Keith is probably going to talk about this, but we're a part of the wonderful organization of Ubisoft, and we had the opportunity to really talk to a lot of other teams, how they use matchmaking and the strong parts about it, and we've integrated a lot of those learnings into the division PvP. So from a vision or a direction standpoint, I wanted to make sure that players always felt comfortable that they were playing against people near their skill level, and skill-based matchmaking was the obvious choice.
Yeah, and it's very different from what we did before. We've kind of focused it down so that your wins and your losses really matter, and that's going to change who you're playing with. And the goal is after this game's out in the wild just for a little bit, you'll start getting really, really much more balanced matches.
Yep.
All right, looking forward to actually playing as people who won't kill me in 2 seconds. But they probably will anyway.
They still might do that.
Yeah.
They still might do that.
He's better than he's saying. I've played PvP with him.
Yeah, he's
being very modest.
Yeah, you're being so modest. Better.
Yeah, I think I should change that to just being happy that we'll never have to fight you guys. Because
that's right.
It'd be over.
Ella, she's the one.
Ella?
Yeah, she's really
she's
good
the one.
PvP.
Yeah, she's the
Yeah.
one. She'll wreck us all. Wreck is the word you use, right? Okay, so
yeah, you sound cool.
Oh, thank you. I feel much better now. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for all the hard work that you guys are doing on the Dark Zone and PvP. We will have you back. We will bring you here to sit at our new fancy table and talk more about all the work you do on the Dark Zone and on PvP. It's always fantastic.
Can't wait to talk more about it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll
awesome.
Say hi to Julian and Matthias for us.
And you have the screen anytime you want it. Anytime you want it.
Okay.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Later.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this special report about Dark Zones and PvP.